So what makes you you? In other words, like what is it about you that separates you from all the other people in the world? This chapter talks quite a bit about personality, and honestly, it's the sort of thing that there's been many, many theories about over the last thousands of years. So in this 3 or 4 minute video here, we're not going to get too deep into it, but I just wanted to sort of run through a few of the theories on personality. So personality, there's a definition for you on the screen, a set of enduring traits and characteristics of an individual, and those traits shape who we are, how we think, how we feel, how we act, all of those sorts of things. So um, there's a couple of big players, I guess, in the psychology game in the modern era, and we can go back way further than this. Again, this isn't a deep, deep dive, but most of us have heard of Sigmund Freud, and he had a theory called his psychoanalytic theory, and he believed that we were driven by these unconscious desires and through things that happened in our early childhood. So he divided our mind into these three basic or structures. He called them the id, the ego, and the superego. The id are those basic urges that we just have because we're human. It could be like just desires that are normal to all humans. And then our superego is like these moral standards and that we can set for ourselves or that we set through learned behaviors. And then the ego is this sort of rational part of us that balances the two. He also suggested things like our unresolved childhood conflicts are going to shape our adult personality, and that we typically will use defense mechanisms like repressing or hiding memories and denial to protect ourselves. And so some of the things Freud came up with are no longer really, actually, most of probably what he came up are no longer in vogue among modern psychiatrists and psychologists, but they have really shaped the modern face of psychology and psychoanalytic theory. We moved from some of these sort of dark Freudian ways of thinking into a more humanistic era with psychologists like Abraham Maslow and Rogers, and they came up with these more humanistic theories, sort of just understanding what we are as people and how that drives our our personalities. So Maslow, if you may have heard of him, he created the hierarchy of needs, where he recognized that we have to sort of take care of basic needs like food and safety before we strive for higher level needs like self-actualization and and reaching our highest potential. Rogers was big on the ideas of self-concept and unconditional positive regard, he called it. That's like that we need to all believe that we're accepted before we can really become our true selves. And then the more modern take are these trait theories. And again, many psychologists sort of take bits and pieces from all of these. Um, and probably the most common trait theory you've heard of is what's called the Big Five model, or sometimes you'll hear it called Ocean, because the five traits, they are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And their first letters spell ocean. And you'll see these sorts of things in all sorts of personality tests. You'll see them on dating apps, job applications, because with these five traits, many psychologists and many wannabe psychologists, I guess, think they can learn enough about you to decide whether or not, say, you're a good hire or you may be a good match for someone else. So openness tends to describe things like curiosity and creativity. Conscientiousness means to be someone who thinks about things. Typically, when we say someone's conscientious, it means that they don't just do stuff without thinking. So it has to be organized and like a reliable, and that you make plans to do things and make decisions on purpose, and rather than letting life happen to you. Extroversion has to do with being outgoing and energetic. Agreeableness means cooperative or kind. And then neuroticism is emotional uh, instability. And so we sort of all, according to this theory, fall on these sort of continuums from being, open to closed, or conscientious to unconscientious, or extroverted to introverted, etc. And so we'll actually have a little assignment in the chapter where we get to do a little personality test. But again, you've probably seen these around in popular culture and in other areas. And then again, so as always, why does this matter? And personality matters because if we understand our own personality, we can understand why we think the way we do, why we act the way we do. And that can aid us in changing things that we want to change about ourselves, or holding on to those things that we don't want to change. And that helps us to grow. And I think also, as we come to understand the personalities of others, we're in a better position to serve and help them, to work together with them in cooperative states. And this is good for business, and it's good for relationships in whole. So as a whole. So I hope you enjoyed this very short introduction to personality theory. Again, this could be you could earn a whole doctorate degree in this. So this little 4.5 minutes here wasn't meant to make you an expert, just to introduce the concepts.